Looks like I'm finally live. Okay, how you doing? As usual, I'll stall for time to see if anybody shows up. But today we're looking at the Amazing Spider-Man King Size Annual number 16. Why is this important? This is the first appearance of Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. So I thought I would continue the Sunday comics tradition of talking about Captain Marvel in all of her forms. Carol Danvers. So forgive me. Okay, gonna take a sip of my coffee. As normal, it is delicious Tim Hortons coffee. Here we go. Oh, yeah, that's the stuff. All right, I'm just stalling for time. I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy movie last night. My wife and I went to like a 10 o'clock show. Oh, I got a thumbs up. How you doing? Sound good? Look good? So I went to go see the Guardians of the Galaxy movie last night. Everybody told me it was bad, so I had low expectations, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't great literature. It wasn't a Martin Scorsese film. It wasn't, grand cinema, but it was a good popcorn movie, and it was a good ending of Guardians of the Galaxy. Is it the ending? I don't know. They kind of hint that there's gonna be a Star-Lord solo movie, but whatever. I liked it. I they changed the High Evolutionary a bit, but I didn't really mind, to tell you the truth. The High Evolutionary is supposed to be hey, good morning, Bushpan. The High Evolutionary is supposed to be an Earthling. They made him an alien, and it kind of bothers me that all aliens that look exactly like Earthlings. Then what's the point of making him an alien? But whatever, I'm not going to complain. All right, sound good, look good. Okay, cool. Because I had some technical difficulties as per usual, like I always do, and here we go. So, Bushpan, anything you want to talk about before I really get started? I'm just kind of stalling and see if anybody else shows up. Anything? How you doing? Where do you live? Where do you live? More coffee. I definitely need coffee. I wake up at 4 in the morning during the week. This is a 3-day weekend, but I stayed up till about 2 last night. I was chatting with Brian Bow for Wolf and Batsy. I love talking to him. We talk about monster movies and stuff. He's such a great guy, and I stay up too late. That's what happens when you're overlords of Disney. Yeah, yeah. Well, remember when what company Disney owned? Why can't I think of the name of the movie? But basically, Disney made like Reservoir Dogs back in the 90s. Disney used to make really good movies, to the point when Marvel was bought out by Disney. I was excited. I was like, all right, they're gonna have great money, they can have great backing, and they'll make good movies. And then whatever. Currently reading John Byrne Fantastic Four. Great comics. Is this the first time you're reading it? Oh, you're from Texas. Okay, I love Texas. My wife and I are thinking that's one of the places we're thinking about retiring. We're in Texas. I want to go to Eastern Texas. I want to go to as much cowboy Texas as possible. I didn't particularly like Houston. I take that back. I didn't Yes, it was Houston. I didn't particularly like. The craziest drivers I've ever seen. Oh my God! I'm a guy who's been driving in New York, Manhattan and Brooklyn and Queens and Bronx, and I was terrified of the Houston drivers. Okay, enough stalling. All right, so let's check this out. This is Amazing Spider-Man King Size Annual number 16. And I picked this because it's the first appearance of Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. And I figured I did a couple of Sunday comics about Carol Danvers, so I figured I'll keep up the Captain Marvel motif and going. Around the Austin area. Okay, believe it or not, I've never been to Austin. If you've seen my Sunday comics where I talked about Steve Ditko, I brought up my college roommate Randy. He was from Houston, so that's why I went to Houston a few times to go visit, drive him home, pick him up for school a few times. All right, so Houston is too much crime. Don't go there. But you're from New York, yeah. I wasn't there long enough to notice any crime, but I was there long enough to notice the drivers were the scariest people on the planet. Terrifying drivers. They would go like 80 miles an hour, beep at you because you weren't going fast enough, and they would be like 9 feet behind you. I was like, oh God, even New Yorkers don't drive like that. All right, so first thing I want to talk about this cover is it's John Romita Jr., inked by John Romita Sr. So this is total family style comic cover, and I love John Romita Sr. and John Romita Jr. I don't know. I've seen some good work by him, and I've seen some horrible work from him. So he's not my favorite. I love John Romita Sr. I've met him. I'm trying to see if I could get him to talk live on my channel. That would be amazing if he did. But the son, nice guy, seems like a decent guy. Got no problems with him personally, but just don't like his art. Okay, I'm rambling. Let Austin role model is Seattle, Portland. If that's yeah, I know. I've been to Seattle many moons ago. I've been to Seattle. I think it was 94, 95, and I loved it. Oh man, it was funny because my friend Sean, when I went to go visit, he said it was pouring rain, and I took the train there. He says the moment I got off the train, the sky cleared and it was beautiful and sunny. He goes, and the day I left, it started pouring again. So it was funny because my memories of Seattle, I was there for like a week and a half or something like that. It was beautiful, sunny, like glorious, beautiful days. So it's funny that I have like this skewed image of Seattle. And I was there for a week. So I got to see cool restaurants, got to see some cool bands. So I didn't get to see the grime and everything that I heard. Portland I've never been to, and sounds like I do not ever want to go there. All right, so let's get into this comic. 6 minutes and I'm babbling. Okay, so here we got this. This is a pretty good cover. Catches your eye. I can't read what year it is, so we got the indicia on the inside. Over here we got a caption box. Pete Rock was saying, and he's absolutely right, that you don't really see word balloons and caption boxes too much on comic book covers anymore. He said he doesn't like it. I don't know. I don't like it or dislike it. I kind of feel it's a retroactive thing. Like you don't really see it too much anymore. But I kind of like it. It's funny because I should break out that Thor comic. But my friend Carl and I remember we were having I was sleeping over his house. I guess we were in like third grade. And we would get comic book covers and we would sing the captions as if there were songs. It was funny because I think, some of them had like a tempo to them. If you did, it was a funny game. I should break that out and show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Let's open this up. We got what is that? Network? Atari. Hey John. Hi Sci-Freak. Wow, almost 500,000 subscribers. Yeah, I know. I'm there. I can't seem to get to 500. I've been at 499. And then a couple of people subscribed just as other people desubscribed. I guess, you go on Twitter. I hate doing it. You go on Twitter and you're like, hey, can I get to 500? And people are like, yeah, sure, buddy. And then I guess they're like, oh, Jesus, this guy's a jerk, or whatever. So I can't seem to break 500. Hold on, my chair is sinking. There we go. All right. So this is why I can't get to 500 because I'm like this. All right. So here we got a splash page. Let's look at the credits. Stan Lee presents another Marvel milestone. It seems dark in here. Plotted, scripted by Roger Stern. What can I say about Roger Stern? Roger Stern is just a Marvel workhorse. He wrote, I think, one of the best Avengers runs. He's been all over. I really like Roger Stern. Solid writer. Drawn by John Romita Jr. and John Romita Sr. Lettered by Jim Novaks, colored by Stan Goldberg. And Stan Goldberg's been around with Marvel since the beginning. I showed off a couple of his comics. He drew like a lot of like Billy the Model and Chili and those characters. So he's been there from the beginning. But he was an artist. And he draws in like a kind of an Archie style. I really like Stan Goldberg. All right, colored by Stan Goldberg, edited by Tom DeFalco. I'm not the biggest Tom DeFalco fan. Travel Reservations by Jim Shooter. That means he's the boss. Proud wife and mom, Virginia Romita. Oh, that's nice. So John Romita Jr.'s wife just had a baby. Oh, cool. That's nice. Oh, wow. So that line, I remember that. So what is this? Is that 1982? 1982. So that means I was 1982. What was I in? 4th grade, 5th grade when this came out? Who was that? So I got this off the stands, and it shows you even as a kid, I was obsessive about the condition of my comic books, you know. And about a year or two before this, you'll notice that some of my comics are kind of beat up. That's because I used to bring them to school and put them in a folder and let everybody read it. Somewhere, I don't know, plus or minus 6 months around this point. Well, probably about 6 months before this. I think I got one of those free pamphlets that showed you the cost of comics. Hey, John, bought this issue from the newsstand when it came out because of the cover. It's very typical of the age of second wave feminism. Monica's powerful, sexy, like so. Yeah. Heroinberg. For those of you who do not know, Heroinberg is a buddy of mine. He came and talked on my channel. He sent me a Heroinberg comic back when I was nobody. He's one of the first people to take a shot on me. He's a new guy, so I'm very loyal to Heroinberg. He puts out a comic. I'll finish my thoughts since I went out of order. About once a year, he calls it like the Heroinberg Annual, and I showcase 2 of the 3 of them. But he's mostly known for Heroinberg is a singular person and a group of people. Paradoxically, they make web content like episodes of superhero fights. Girls in costumes beating the crap out of supervillains. Stuff. A lot of fun. Yeah, they're good group of people over there. And Marvin Wynn, who creates the Edge comic, is I think he said he's a cameraman. Good group of people. And like I said, Heroberg reached out to me back when I'm still nobody, but back when I was extra nobody. So as I was saying, around this time, right before this time, I'll say I started getting obsessed with the condition of my comics. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm a condition queen where I'm going to put everything in CGC slabs and 9.8, but, and since I bought this channel, since I started this channel, I've rebought, Jesus, what is wrong with my mouth? Since I started this channel, I have bought other comics that were in bad condition to replace my older comics because, I don't want them beat up. But I could live with not the best condition of comics, but I do like, this is going to sound cheesy, but these are my friends. These comics, these characters, these are my friends, and I want my friends to be in good shape. Star Frontiers. What can I say about Star Frontiers that I haven't already said 8 million times? This was a TSR game, like a D&D game, but it was science fiction. And me and my friends played role-playing games like almost every day after school. We were the typical... I don't want to say like the Hellfire Club from Stranger Things, because that was a little different, but more like if you watch Freaks and Geeks. We would just go to like one of my buddies' houses, most likely my friend Carl's house. And Carl was the DM, and he'd put us through our paces. Now Carl, he'll never see this, but he was a little cruel. So I kind of got biased against D&D because I always thought it was like the DM versus the players. And I've since learned that it was just like Carl, being cruel. But in Carl's defense, I think that's the way it was set up. Like the DM was supposed to just like torture the players. I remember I started DMing and I was mean and cruel too, because I thought that's the way you're supposed to be, like breaking the rules just to mess with the players, And then I realized it was more fun if like we had like a fun story to get to the point where I became too soft, and then I realized I was getting taken advantage of. I was a little kid, and then I like to think that today in my 50s, I'm a fair DM. Like Spider-Man. Awesome. Hey, Bucky, how you doing, Bucky? You're in Oklahoma, right, Bucky? Devil Flyer, man. Hey, John, let's talk comics. Okay, you got it. Devil Flyer told me to stop wasting time. No, I was just stalling for views. But my last thought on Star Frontier. So we tried Star Frontier, and my friend Jimmy wanted to. That was going to be his game. Everyone in our group had our own. They were the DM of their own game. So Carl was the Dungeons Dragons DM. Jimmy became the DM for Star Frontiers, and I became the DM for Villains and Vigilantes. Now, every once in a while, we would try it up, but whatever. And we still play Villains and Vigilantes. So let that speak of itself. So here we got. I'm good. Now I'm back home in New Mexico. Oh, you live in New Mexico. Oh, okay. I lived in Albuquerque for 7 years. Do you ever go to where in New Mexico do you live, Bucky? Because Get me some green chili. I'm missing green chili. All right, so Monica Rambeau is getting mugged over here. This is comic book Manhattan. This is comic book Manhattan. You can't take 10 steps anywhere without getting mugged. I'm just turning off my screen because it keeps moving and it's driving me berserkowitz. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, all right. So you can't take 10 steps anywhere without getting mugged. So she's getting mugged by guys who wear suits and slacks. Purple jackets and everything. I just love the fashion in comic books. I think nowadays that's one of the things that they do better is fashion. So he pulls out a knife, and keep in mind she doesn't have any powers at this point. All she has is gumption. And she's taking out this guy. She's hitting him in the neck. And I'm not going to call Mary Sue. I'm not going to do any of that because I used to New Mexico between Roswell and Carlsbad. Okay, I lived in Albuquerque for 7 years. I went to university in New Mexico. So she beats up the muggers and leaves them writhing in pain in an alleyway. Why did she walk down here? But that's besides the point. She's a woman. She can walk wherever she wants. Better question is why did they mug her? Which is true. So like I said, I'm not going to call Mary Sue because how many? I got 4 people in the chat, myself included. How many people have actually been in a fight? Most people don't know how to fight. Oh, B Powers, how are you doing? Welcome. That's a new name. Thank you for coming. So she's military trained. I think I forget what branch of the military she was in. So you know what? I think a little bit of training will and confidence will get you a long way in a fight, let's say that these are tweakers. So this guy's like, oh, Spider-Man's interviewed, he bops him, but Spider-Man has super strength. So he jumps down and he gets the Spidey sense, and he's like, and she just reacts. She just got to a fight, her adrenaline is pumping. She reacts and blasts him, right through here. So he's like, what the, she overreacted. She's rookie superhero. She goes, oh my God, what's going on? I can't believe I did that. And what does she do? She chooms. She transforms into Captain Marvel. So here we have her the first time in her costume. And, I like that. She's adjusting her boots, and I for some reason I get a kick out of it when superheroes adjust their costume. It just gives a little bit of realism in it. And at the same time, costumes are supposed to be magic science, in Marvel anyway, with Reed Richards' unstable molecules. So it's like they don't really need to be adjusted, but I do like that. So I guess at this point she didn't know Reed Richards. Just take a sip of my coffee. She's fixing everything and putting her purse inside she has like pockets inside these wings where she hides a costume. And Spider-Man's like, what's happening? And she basically transforms into lightning and takes off with like a loud thunderclap. And he was like, what did I just witness? And here she is. She flies to the Empire State. And look at that glorious splash page. For those of you who do not know, a splash page is one page. That's one panel. And at this point, this is her full reveal. This is the first time you see Captain Marvel in her full costume. Nowadays, I'm like, that is cool. That is cool. And this is what I always picture. Jet black. And then I picture this as silver. With this pink highlight is supposed to be like the reflections and glare from the sky. So I don't really picture this white. I picture the silver. It's colored like that because of the limitations of the printing process. I don't know. What do you guys think? But that is just cool. So she transformed into lightning. She made it up here and then transforms back into flesh and blood. And what is she doing? It's time for a montage. Actually, it's not really a montage because montage is like fast expression of time. So this is just, her origin. So she's recollecting now. So she's New Orleans, you can't have New Orleans without Mardi Gras. Everybody's, I had a fight with someone that turned out to be a good friend now. Builds toughness and shows you he's not a coward. Yeah, Bushpan, I agree with you. I was a troublemaker, believe it or not. Yes, BS. I was a troublemaker. I got into lots of fights, believe it or not. I got my face pounded in many times. I've probably lost more fights than I won. And, but the funny thing about winning a fight, it's all perspective. It's who can shout loudest after the fight and convince everybody, right? And I've done that too. But I've been in fights. The thing about fights is, here's the secret. You got to be able to take a punch, and you got to intimidate the other guy. That's it. That's it. You win the fight. I don't care how strong you are. If you could take a punch and intimidate the other guy, there you go. A little bit of secrets from an old curmudgeon. But so she's confident she could deal with the punch. So I'll give her that. Plus, she had superpowers, so that's why she took out the muggers. Just wondering what everyone's favorite Vincent Price movie is. Maybe The Witcher, or The Witchfinder General. That's just without thinking, or maybe Dr. Vibes. But anyway, so it's establishing that here she is. She's in her military. I forget, what is she? Coast Guard? I forget exactly. But she's in her military uniform talking to her superiors, and she's storming out. Typical superhero stuff. Storming out. She said goodbye to everybody. Typical. And now she's being this old timer is offering her job. What is she going to do? She's going to work for like Oracle Salvage. She's going to work a boat in the Gulf of New Mexico, like salvaging wrecked technology and ships. And why can't I think? But that's a real job. Believe it or not, my friend Randy that I keep talking about, that's what he did. He quit. He was the one I talked about a few times on that he was, he kind of got fascinated by objectivism, and that's how I found out about objectivism. I talked about it when I did the Steve Ditko comic. But Randy was a very interesting guy, and he quit college, and I tried to talk him out. So I only went to college with the vote for 1 year, and he quit. He was just like, "This is a waste of time," and he got a job doing this in the Gulf of Mexico, and he lived on the boat. And I was like, "Why did you take this job?" He's like, "Because I don't have to pay rent. The only thing I need to do is buy food and clothes." And he saved up all his money. And then what did he do? He bought a coin-operated laundromat. And he set up a cot in the back of the coin-operated laundromat, and he mopped it every day. He took out the coins, and now he owns a fleet of them. And he's like 2 or 3 years younger than me, and he's retired already. He lives on a boat. He's got chicks who look like this hanging out on the boat. I went to college. I did the right thing, and I'm working construction. So there you go. And I don't want to hear anything, because Randy was Mexican. His father was absent. His mother was an immigrant. And here he is. Just living the American dream. So I always tell the story of Randy to people who just like, "America's racist. You can't make it anywhere." I was like, "Oh yeah, the white kid is. I'm still paying student loans. Randy's retired already." But anyway, so Monica's on the boat now. She's working for this guy, and they go to this like oil rig, and they check it out. And shadiness is going on the oil rig, and these soldiers are like, "What are you doing?" Or actually, they're private security guards. "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I just came up here to sunbathe. You guys want to just?" So I love that. She's a hot chick. She's using the goodies, and they take her up. And the what, the mogul, is that what the word I should? He's just like, "Oh, bring up the hot chick," And now they're having a barbecue picnic. What is wrong with my brain? So remember, she's investigating this place because they know that there's some shady technology going on up here, and that's her new job. And what's going on is like, you're distracting me from all this. I don't want to hear it. And they bring her to the room, and now they get her boss. And we got Thor over here. There's Odin. I love Odin. And they're gonna put her in the vault. And what does she do? So she doesn't have powers at this point. Remember, this is how did she get powers? They're gonna. He's bringing her to the complex mind of this super technological computer. And if I remember correctly, I think they did use like Kree components that they salvaged, and she just smashes everything and it explodes. Boom. And then everybody thinks she's dead because there's an explosion, her body's gone, and there's this light flash, and she reforms over here. And she's like, what happened? Her mind took her someplace safe. And where is she? She's back in the hangar now. Now, I'm funny. I'm a goof, and I can't help but think about this. These are regular clothes. She should be naked, But what do I know? It's Comics Code Authority. How did the clothes transform? They're not made of unstable molecules. So here she is. She finds this radio equipment. She's like wishing it could work. And what does she do? She powers it up. So she's realizing, but she's too strong. She makes this guy deaf. So he's like, nobody's gonna help me. I don't know where. She's panicking, and I like that. I like when they have like normal human reactions. She's superhuman right now. She's not technically she's not a human being anymore. She human beings can't transform into energy. She's a metahuman, but she's scared. She's like, where am I? What's going on? How did I get here? The last thing I know is explosion, and her buddy is still on that oil rig. So she goes through. There's all these costumes. It's like props, everything. So she just cobbles together this costume. The only thing I'm going to call BS on is why was there the same symbol that the original Captain Marvel had on, and what does she say here? So she's putting on costume, but she doesn't come up with the name yet. And now she goes outside and she knows that she can transform, so she goes back as energy, but she's too powerful. She can't control it, which I do like. See how everything's all cracked and everything. So she just like explodes around here. She's taking out guys, just materializing. She's beating everybody. I saw. Oh, Bucky asked, "What do I feel about the excited about the Marvels movie?" I saw the preview for it yesterday. It looks like they're going for a. You know what, Sci Freak just took the words out of my mouth. Not expecting much, but curious. Perfect, perfect, Sci Freak. So what's going on? They're finding out that the strange technology is making some sort of warp-de-doo over here in dimensions. So he shoots the old guy. She's not having any of it. She's too late because she's a rookie hero. He's like, finish the job. She's like, what's going on? This warp gate over here is going out of crazy, and it warps us into Saturday morning cartoons. There you go. Just got the dog to go out for a walk. Okay. Now, Bucky, get me some green chili. Get me some Hatch green chili. And she gets sucked into the gate, and there we go. So now she sucked into the gate, but what does she do? She's using her energy powers to stabilize it, and the guy's trying to kill the old man. He's just beat up. He's not dead, so he shoots at him. And here's where she realized how powerful she at the speed of light, she vaporizes the bullet. Look, she's a powerhouse. She's an absolute powerhouse, and I don't mind it because they give her good limitations. Marvel is good like that. That they will give a character vast powers, but at the same time they give limitations. I do dig that. I think that's a necessary thing to make an exciting superhero. And we'll talk about that later. So she disintegrates the bullet. She saves the old guy, and he's just like, "What's going on? You can't leave me here in this unstable wormhole in this." And now she's gonna work for. And now she's making a proper costume. So now she's got a costume that'll withstand her abilities. I paid a fortune for it, and she still didn't name herself, or did she? I forget. Navy investigates the explosion. Who is Captain Marvel? Yeah, so she calls herself Captain Marvel because they said, "Oh, the star looks like Captain Marvel." So keep in mind, she doesn't know Marvel. She doesn't know Carol Danvers. She's kind of just squatting on the name, and she's like, "Oh, that's a cool name." And they almost implied that the Shazam Captain Marvel was a comic book at the time, so it was like she's like, "I remember this name from my childhood," kind of thing, So she's taking the name, and I like that because it's not like she's up on the superhero culture, She's not like a. Yes, Jeff Hatcher asked, "Is this her first appearance?" Yes, this is her first appearance. They're they're making her like a normal person. She's not like a nerdy person who's into superheroes or anything like that. So she's like, yeah, the name Captain Marvel sounds cool. I'm gonna grab the name Captain Marvel. Now she's part of superhero culture. But before this, it was something she didn't really think about. And in a world of superhero, think about it. If we lived in the Marvel universe, would everybody know like all these obsessive details about the superheroes? Like I like that every once in a while, like when you get reminded that like nobody really knows who the X-Men are. But then at the same time you see like, posters of Wolverine in the Marvel universe. So what is it? Are the X-Men secret or are the X-Men like common knowledge? Does the paparazzi follow around superheroes? I guess that's just Peter Parker. Is Peter Parker superhero paparazzi? That's a good idea for a comic book. Oh my God, that's a really good the para paparazzi or something like that. The paparazzi who follow around superheroes. Oh my God. Let's crowdfund a comic. See, here's her origin. She went to investigate this oil rig that was being used. It's an abandoned oil rig that's being used for some shady technology. They're going to open up some rift, and she goes to investigate, smashes the keyboard, and gets these powers. you know, and it's established that she's military. She's established that she can handle herself beforehand. She's savvy, but at the same time, she's not perfect. She messed up. She when she materialized, she blew up everything. She like knocked down her mentor. You know, I love that kind of stuff. I love when superheroes get their powers and they're learning the powers. You know, it should be in every movie, every, you know, unless it's understood that like the guy's been around for a while. I like when superheroes are exploring their abilities. Why? Because I role play superhero games a lot, and one of my things is you got the powers, but I don't tell you how to use them. You know, it's like I don't tell you every trick, and I love when the players discover all the little cool tricks they could do with their own powers. It's a lot of fun. So here's Spider-Man finally catching up. Now, keep in mind, she was by herself contemplating the nature of the universe. She accidentally took out Spider-Man. Spider-Man, you know, was he didn't realize that she was going to attack him because he saw her as a victim of mugging, but he also saw her like fend off the muggers. So he was like, hey, what's going on? He didn't think he was going to get blasted, and he just he got blasted, even though his spider sense told him something was up. So a little bit of character interaction. A little kid, Spider-Man's like talking to the kid, and that gives Monica a few seconds to disappear. So now where is she? She's going to the Baxter building. Why is she going to the Baxter building? Because she wants to learn about her powers. Here we got Ben Grimm. You know, what does that say? What a mess. It looks like someone went through here with the battle axe. I've heard that FF have enemies, but to do this. So Fantastic Four 242. So I think this is the aftermath of the battle with Terrax. So we got a big looming shadow, and then there's Ben Grimm, my favorite. You know, ask me on any given day, I'll say Superman's my favorite. Some days I'll say Ben Grimm is my favorite, but they're both my favorites for different reasons. Superman, because Superman is the ultimate superhero. Superman is, you know, people will argue with you. He's arguably the first superhero. Other people will say other people, but whatever. But for all intents and purposes, Superman is the first superhero. Taking a sip of coffee. And he's good. He's everything that superheroes are supposed to be. He's hopeful. He's handsome. He's super powerful. Things about Superman I don't like is he's super powerful. You know, it can be easy to be bored. But Superman's supposed to be inspiring, uplifting. If Superman lands in the field next to you, you are excited. Everybody, you know, even the bad guys, you can be like, oh man, that's Superman. That's so cool. You know, whereas Ben Grimm is the other side of the superhero spectrum. He's ugly. His powers are a curse. You know, he views his powers as a loss rather than a gain. But you know, when the Fantastic Four started for like the first 12 issues or so, Ben was bitter and angry and snapping at people. But you know what? And then all the Fantastic Four had wonky personalities the first year. I think Reed and Stan didn't really know what to do. They were playing it by ear, which is fine. And then he became this nice, lovable softy. And I love that. You know, I love that. I love the fact that, like, Ben, he got the short end of the stick as far as powers-wise, looks-wise. I mean, he's a powerhouse. But, you know, would you want to be this for the rest of your life with the powers of the Thing? You know, whenever I see the Thing, as a kid, I was like, oh, he's Rocky and everything. But as I get older, I like to think about like superheroes like more logically. I put a lot of thought into them. I think, you know, I am flattering myself, but you get what I'm saying. Like, is this Rock, or is this just like, nowadays I picture this as just super dense, super tough. Yes, power could be a curse and a gift. You know, and that's why Stan Lee is amazing with that. Great power comes great responsibility. So I look at Ben Grimm as he's not covered in rocks. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's covered in rocks. But really, if you took it and examined it in a I almost said stethoscope, microscope, what to me this would be like super thick, super tough skin. So it's almost like he's covered in callus. You know, just that's the way. And the cracks are just like the callus breaking. So I always picture like Ben Grimm would smell. You know, because he just smells like he's a gigantic big toe. You know, that might as well be Rock and harsh and everything. You know, and I don't know, because I don't picture him turning into Rock. I picture him turning into, and they just call him. To me, that kind of makes him even more monstrous. But I don't know. That's how I think of the Thing. So he's talking to her. He's like, I need Reed Richards over here, and she just takes off. And has Spider-Man showing up, day late, dollar short, kind of thing. So where does she go next? She's going where, you know, tour of the Marvel Universe. Go to Avengers Mansion. So here's Iron Man over here just sitting, and she comes through the computer systems, frying $86 billion worth of equipment. And I love when they do this effect. And she comes out and she deactivates the entire Avengers Mansion. Just Jarvis running around, everything, Jarvis is serving breakfast at Laser's attack. He's running around. So Captain Marvel almost accidentally killed not only Tony Stark, but Jarvis. Tony Stark, he's on guard. He's in armor. Jarvis is just making breakfast. You don't kill the guys making breakfast. I love that. You can see her reflection in the armor. Jarvis is showing up. And to Jarvis's credit, he's ready to throw fists, Jarvis is I like the concept of the manservant, the attaché, the companion, the butler. But the butler to Batman, the butler to the Avengers, has to be able to take care of himself. So I do like the fact that like Alfred is like ex U.S. Air Force, RAF, and Jarvis he's also I think ex RAF. Became a butler. You got to be a tough guy. You got to be a badass. And then in the Roger Stern series, Roger Stern was the writer who had the Masters of Evil take over and siege the Avengers Mansion, and they beat the crap out of Jarvis. It was heartbreaking, because this is a character that I've known my entire life. He's a butler. He's the guy that gives Captain America toast and coffee, and anybody who gives you toast and coffee is a good guy in my book. And here he is getting beaten up by I forget who it was. Was it the Wrecking Crew or Baron Zemo? I forget exactly who it was. It's unforgivable. And she's like, "What's going on here?" She's, she didn't mean to hurt anybody. And she's like, no, I didn't. They don't know who she is. He thinks that she's a bad guy. Wouldn't you? You walk in the room, Iron Man's knocked out. He almost got attacked by laser beams, and this strange woman in the room. They don't know who she is. So, and that is typical superhero trope. Superheroes fight when they show up. So now Spider-Man's following around. Jarvis, he's like, Jarvis, go get help. I'm going to go take care of this. She's not a bad person. She's confused. And here she's using her energy aura, and Spider-Man webs her up. Why does Spider-Man web her up? Because it's a comic book and you got to have conflict. Second off, she's been causing havoc with her powers. She's not in control of her powers. So he webs her up, and what does she do? She just uses her energy and just she whoops it. He's like, okay, this is gonna be good, and he dazzles her, with light. So he's like, and now he grabs her, and yeah, she's playing hardball. So she electrifies himself. He can't grab her, and sometimes you got to slap a hole, right? Look at that. Just Monica Rambeau, first level superhero. Spider-Man, what would you say Spider-Man is at this point? 7th level, 8th level, just beats the crap out of her and knocks her out. And they're like, what did you do? And Wasp, and they tie her up with these insulated cables. And what does he do? He's draining off her excess energy. He puts a non-conducting curtain around her, and he's, we're trying to siphon off this energy so we could deal with her, because she can't control. She's kind of out of control. She's asking for help right now, but her power is making her a menace. So they're putting up a shield, and they drain off the extra energy. So they siphon off all the extra energy, and they fire it off into space. And now they think that she's cured. They think that she no longer has powers. But what do? They tone down her powers a bit so that her rookie neophyte mind can keep in mind, she's not a rookie neophyte. She's ex-military. She can handle herself, but she's rookie neophyte with the powers. So I don't mean any disrespect like that. And now all the Avengers are like hanging out, talking to Ben. I love group shots. So now they're like, she's like, thanks for the help, Captain America. And Captain America, the second appearance, so Spider-Man leaves, and I like Spider-Man as a loner. I like Spider-Man not as a member of the Avengers. I think Spider-Man works best by himself. So he's going back to the Greyhound station, and what is he doing? He's meeting Harry Osborn and Liz Allen, his old buddies, and that's the end of the comic. And here we got the many loves of Peter Parker. That's why I have to laugh that up. Peter Parker is considered like the average Joe. Meanwhile, like look at all these hot chicks. Liz Allen, Betty Brant. Did he actually date Betty Brant? I thought they like flirted, but I don't think they ever really dated. And then Gwen Stacy, the beautiful Gwen Stacy, was very much in love with Peter Parker until her untimely death. Now I'm going to say something controversial about Gwen Stacy. If you go back to her first appearance I forget what issue it is, but the very first line that Gwen Stacy says is, "There's Peter Parker. He's the only guy in school who hasn't given me a tumble." Okay? I'm going to say that again. There's Peter Parker. He's the only guy in school that hasn't given me a tumble. She was a bad girl. Okay? Let's leave it at that. She was a bad girl. She was trouble. She was a fast and easy kind of girl, if you ask me. And I think falling in love with Peter Parker calmed her down. Peter Parker did date Betty early on. Okay, you know. So I think that makes it a little bit more tragic. Well, she was like a troubled girl. So it went in the reveal that she was having an affair with Norman Osborn. That doesn't shock me so much. I think like we kind of have these rose-colored glasses when it comes to Gwen Stacy. You know that oh, she was the good girl. No, she was a bad girl. She was a bad, troubled girl that fell in love with Peter and then was on like the course to becoming like a stable love person. But so when I was like, oh, she dated Norman. Oh, okay, well, Peter was the only guy in school that didn't give her a tumble. So there you go. Glory Grant, I remember Glory Grant. Sissy Ironwood. I don't remember Sissy Ironwood too much. Does anybody remember Sissy Ironwood? And then Deborah Whitman. I hate that term. What is that term? Shipping. I'm shipping for Peter Parker and Deborah Whitman. She was my favorite of all of Peter Parker's girlfriends, even more than Mary Jane. I don't know what it was, but I've had a soft spot for Deborah Whitman, mostly because she was his love interest in the early issues. I'm going to say like the first 40 issues or so of Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. And that was my Spider-Man. Around this time, I was collecting Amazing Spider-Man, but at this point, I was full on collecting. I knew the ins and outs of collecting. But when Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man #1 came out, I just happened to pick it up. And I didn't know what the numbers meant, like this, like up here. I didn't know what these numbers meant. There's numbers all over the place on comic books. I didn't know what the numbers meant, so I just bought comics. And my friend's like, "Oh, you got to get #1 now. That means you get #2 and you collect it." And then I learned about collecting comics, so I kind of got depressed because Amazing Spider-Man, I think it was like up to like 180 or 180. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get the early Spider-Mans." But Spectacular Spider-Man, I got in on the ground floor, and that became my Spider-Man. And she was the girlfriend in that. So that and the fact that she was like, I don't know. She just seemed like a regular girl next door. Like we all know Mary Jane was the girl next door, but girls next door aren't supermodels. She was just like a regular girl. She had doubts and insecurities. She loved Peter, and Pete was always like, they would make a date, and then like she would get like, Mary Jane when Peter wouldn't show up, she would get all mad and yell at him. "Oh, what are you doing here?" She would just like, "Well, I guess it's right. Who would ever date me?" Yeah. She was like an angel with a broken wing, and I just fell for her. I just like, don't be sad, girl. I'll take care of you, whatever. But anyway, and who's this one? Marcy Kane. I know Marcy Kane, but I can't remember. Anybody remember Marcy Kane? And of course, Mary Jane. And I want Peter and Mary Jane to get married and have kids. I think it's time to grow up. I didn't like One More Day. I thought it was just a Marvel messing with stuff that it was an organic story. They grew up, they fall in love, and then it was just like, Deus Ex Machina, boom, we're gonna reset the status quo. I think it did more damage than good, and it pissed off a lot of people. I'm not a big fan of One More Day. I could deal with the Clone Saga, but I can't deal with One More Day. I thought it was just bad editorial decision. Here we got the Daily Bugle, and here we got the Bullpens. Oh, let's look at the checklist. Marvel 2-in-1, 94, The Thing, Power Man, and Team America, Spider Woman, 47. Yeah, I think that was the last issue. Dazzler, Kazar, Daredevil, Amazing Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor, Microdots, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Wolverine. Okay, yeah, the limited series. So far, I collected everything. Incredible Hulk. I didn't collect Incredible Hulk at this point. I would sporadically buy Incredible Hulk, but I've since bought I bought a collection, so I got most of the Incredible Hulks. The only Incredible Hulks I don't have are the first 7 issues. Avengers, I got that. X-Men, Conan. I didn't collect Conan. I didn't collect Marvel Tales because it was reprints. The Omnibus is coming out Power Man Iron Fist. I did not collect Power Man and Iron Fist. You couldn't find it near me on the newsstand. This was before the newsstand. You just couldn't find it. And when I lived in Albuquerque, there, Bucky, I dated a woman who owned a comic book store. Why can't I think of the name of the store now? It's in Albuquerque. That's gonna drive me nuts. But she gave me a full run of Power Man Iron Fist. That comic book store is still there in Albuquerque. Vision, Scarlet Witch, G.I. Joe I never collected. Fantastic Four, of course. Marvel Team Up, yes, and they disappeared. Iron Man, I didn't collect Iron Man until later on. Spectacular Spider-Man, that was my comic. Defenders, Star Wars I didn't collect. Master of Kung Fu I collected. What If, I only bought it if I liked the concept. For some reason, I was like irrationally angry at the What If being a regular series. I don't know why. Hercules limited series, that was awesome. And now the Marvel magazines, I did not get Crazy, and I did not get Savage Sword of Conan, although I just bought from an apprentice electrician. Sold me his collection of Savage Sword of Conan. Conan Special Edition, X-Men Special Edition, representing the first appearance of X-Men from Giants. Okay, I don't have that. I don't need it. Warlock, yeah, I got that. Marvel Annuals, Iron Man Annual 5, Avengers Annual 11, and the New Mutants. This is the first appearance of the New Mutants. Cool. Good month for comics. Really good month for comics. All right. So this is the first appearance of Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. Anybody got anything to say? I kind of talked a lot. My local shop is doing buy two get one for Memorial. Nothing like taking. Oh yeah, I agree with you, guys. We're gonna come over here to my coffee station. Yeah, why, Abe's. Why can't I remember the name of the books? The comic book store that the girl I dated. She owns it. Her dad started the comic store. It was a used bookstore. Don's Books. So, Bucky, post in the comments if you've ever gone to Don's Books. If you go there, tell Liz, the owner, that I have a comic book channel, and see if she'll subscribe. Maybe she'll be the 500th subscriber. She was a sweetheart. Real good woman. What was I going to say? Happy Memorial Day. I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy last night. I liked it. It wasn't perfect by any means, but really, the only perfect Marvel movie that I could think of was probably Iron Man. The rest of them all had flaws, but I liked it. It wasn't as bad as people say. Sylvester Stallone is still not Starhawk. That is probably the worst person in the world to play Starhawk. I noticed Michelle Yeoh was in it. I guess they can't afford her anymore for such a tiny part. I don't know what else to say. All right, I'll give everybody a minute or two. If you want to ask something, you want to say something, speak now or forever hold your peace. And this this Wednesday, I'm having SN Amadore and Mitch Brettweiser on my channel. We're going to talk about Allegiance Art, which makes phenomenal comics like Red Rooster, and I thought The Saints was phenomenal. I liked all the Guardians movies. I'm trying to think there was only a few of Marvel movies that I actively disliked, and the one that I actively disliked was Endgame. Endgame was I actively disliked. I hated that whole time travel plot, Deus Ex Machina plot to save the day. They wrote themselves in the corner, and they the whole 5-year blip thing. It just makes too many problems. Multiverse of Madness I thought was garbage, and the Spider-Man with Mysterio wasn't that good. Did you collect Amazing Spider-Man? Yes. I started collecting Amazing Spider-Man around 170. And I forget when I stopped. Believe it or not, I stopped right before Todd McFarlane. And then I since rebought it. But I bought collection. So I have a complete Amazing Spider-Man from issue 25 to I don't even know. About 2015. So whatever was around 2015, I have a complete set. 2015. So from issue 25 to whatever numbers came out around 2015 is when I stopped. I stopped cold turkey at all Marvel. But I also have a few issues before that, like a few scattered issues. But I went through a phase where I was just buying collections from people, whether I had them or not. I don't know why, but So I got a lot of like, believe it or not, I got like 3 copies of Fantastic 450 because I bought collections from people. So I got 2 copies of Hulk 181. Iron Man 1 was really good. Phase 1, yeah, overall was pretty good. I think the Marvel movies are kind of phasing down. They're not as good as I found out when I go back and fill in books for my own collection or buy own. I never think about. Um, I don't know. I like the annuals. Back at this point, annuals were a big deal. Annuals were important. Annuals kind of became like where they released the inventory material later on. Inventory comics are back then, like Roger Stern probably had a contract to write 13 issues a year of Amazing Spider-Man. And the 13th issue was called an inventory issue. It was a standalone that could fit anywhere. And that was just in case there was a problem with publishing. They could just take, oh, quick, and stick this issue in someplace else. So Chuck Dixon said when he wrote Spider-Man, he would have yearly contracts and he would get paid for 13 issues, but you'd only see 12. So he says that there's like something like 7 or 8 fully illustrated Jim Aparo Batman comics, Chuck Dixon, Jim Aparo Batman comics that never saw the light of day. And I think later on the annuals would just like, all right, we paid for them, and they would just throw the inventory issues into the annuals. So they kind of didn't matter. But at this point, the annuals were amazing. Like look at this point we had the first appearance of Rogue. We had the first appearance of Annihilus. All these great annuals. The Fantastic Four fights the Sphinx and the Inhumans. These were really, really good stuff. You look forward to the annuals at this point. Later on, and then they became just the event things like Atlantis attacks, and I don't know. They don't even do annuals anymore, do they? Like, what was the last annual that you saw? Yep. Yeah, and it was like Jeff says he likes the annuals too, but he forgot. Yes, because at this point I didn't have a schedule. It was the newsstand. There was no store. So, like, if you didn't see the annual on the shelf, and there was no warning, like, I didn't know. Maybe there was. I was a stupid kid. I didn't know. Like, it's not like there was a newsletter or a message board or the internet or Twitter to tell you that the annual was coming out. So you just walked into a store and you're like, oh, my God, there's an annual. I didn't know this. And sometimes you were freaking out because you didn't have the dollar. Like, oh, my God, what do I do? If I don't get the annual now, I'm going to miss it. But then I'm not going to get the regular issue of it. So, like, you freaked out, because I was a little kid. It's not like you had that much money. Do you know how many times I went out? I went to school. I didn't have lunch because I had to get the comic book. And I used to tell myself, if I eat my lunch now, I'll still be hungry at 4 o'clock after school. But if I get this comic book, I'll always have this comic book for the rest of my life. That's the sacrifice you make as a hardcore comic book collector. Little chubby kid go without lunch. What about you guys? All right. I'm just laughing at but the sacrifices I make for my addiction. I did the same thing with lunch money. Okay, Bushpan. How old are you, Bushpan, if you don't mind me asking? Guy, I assume you're a guy. Just drinking my coffee. The coffee's kicking in now. I was kind of low energy at the beginning. I tried to start drinking coffee a half hour before these videos to get the caffeine flowing through the blood. All right. So there you go, everybody. This is the Amazing Spider-Man annual number 10. I guess I'll shut down now before I ramble. All right. But thanks a lot for showing up, guys. I'm really appreciating. And oh, you're 40. Okay. I'm trying to remember who was the new guy that showed up today that I never saw. Devil Flyer. You're new. I've seen your name before, but there was another one. I'm scrolling down. There was somebody new. That B Powers. Thank you, B Powers. I've never seen you before. Thank you for showing up. Thank Jeff. Jeff and I are going to be talking. I scheduled a guy. I don't want to give it away, but I scheduled something, and then he asked if he could switch, and I had to ask Jeff. So Jeff graciously went back a week or two. I forget if it was 1 week or 2 weeks. So Jeff and I are going to talk comics. But I try not to bump anybody. I'm trying not to play favorites. I'm trying not to be a star chaser. Like, when I schedule you, I schedule. But I will change things around if, because it's Sam Healy from the Dice Tower. I don't know if anybody knows who the Dice Tower is, but the Dice Tower is a board game channel. And I met Sam Healy a few times at comic conventions. We hit it off. and he's starting his own comic, his own board game site called Flip Side of Board Games, and he wants to come on my channel, and we're going to talk about board games and comics. But he got invited to a convention, so he's got to do that for his job. So he asked if we could switch. Otherwise, I don't care if you're Frank Miller. We're scheduled. That's when we're going to go. I'm not going to bump because I got a couple of subscribers who are going to come on and talk. So I feel bad for Jeff, but he was a trooper, and thank you very much. Your Daredevil talk was good with Jeff. My Daredevil talk was with Pete. That was Pete Rock. Pete Rock is a friend of mine. Pete's wife is Allison. Allison and I have been friends since third grade. Matter of fact, Allison probably read my comic books in my folder that got all beat up. So I met Allison in third grade. We've been friends ever since. And Allison in college met Pete. Pete and Allison are married. And then when I moved back to New York, we had like a grade school reunion. Everybody got together. Everybody reconnected. And again, me and Allison were friends for 20 years, and then I met her husband, who is Pete. Me and Pete hit it off to the point me and Pete would be talking frantically about rock and roll, about board games, about comic books, and Allison would be like, "You guys go get a room." And Pete's a great guy. So when I said I wanted to start doing live chats, he was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. You should." I said, "You want to come? You want So he was my test subject, and I thought he was excellent to the point I should invite him back in. So Pete, if you listen, come back in. That was excellent, and I feel bad because he did a research. He did Daredevil, and then when we were ready to go, I grabbed it. I didn't realize he was all ready to go with Daredevil. I grabbed the Fantastic Four annual and started talking, and he was like a deer caught in the headlights. So I brought him back a second time because he did the work, and I was a jerk. I was kind of nervous. I don't know. I'm still kind of nervous. I was very nervous with Mike Barron, and now I'm rambling because the caffeine's kicking in. All right. So if you are a subscriber and you wanna come on and talk on a Wednesday night, send me an email at johnslongbox@yahoo.com. Jeff's coming on. Gene Gentry is going to come on. I forget exactly what dates. And Pete came on. I got no problem. We'll talk. All you got to do is, I invited Bucky. I invited a few people. If you want to come on, and talk comics, you just got to like comics, and we'll do the rest. There you go. All right. I think I've talked myself up. I don't know what else to say, and I'll end it now. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you. Tomorrow is Monday, Memorial Day. I'm gonna do. Here's a sneak preview. This is tomorrow's comic, OMAC. We'll talk about that, and what else to say? I don't know. All right, I'm winding down. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye bye.